Great. Good morning, everybody. I will call to order the meeting at 10:06 a.m. Apologies for technical difficulty that we are having. Member John Roshinsky is having some trouble getting on through WebEx. He will be joining us as soon as he resolves those technical difficulties. We do have a quorum at the moment, so we will proceed. Vice Chair, could you take a roll call? And that is our new Vice Chair, Marty Armstrong. Congratulations on your new role.
Thank you, Pamela. Okay, well, Pamela Brief.
Here.
Patricia Trout.
Here.
Susan Landry.
Present.
And we're going to get a mute from John, but I'm going to call his name, John Roshinsky. Okay. No, he's on pause and I'm here.
Yes, that's good.
Madam Chair,
Excellent.
rolled it. Yeah.
And we have a quorum. Excellent. So some housekeeping to go over. Committee members, please keep your microphone muted when you are not speaking. Members should keep their camera on during the meeting. And when you wish to speak, please use the raise hand feature or physically raise your hand on the video. And please remember to identify yourself before you start speaking so that your name can be recorded for the record. For each agenda item, there will be an opportunity for public comment. I want to advise the LATC members of our voting requirements. Number 1, all motions and seconds will be repeated for the record. And number 2, votes on all motions will be taken by roll call. In addition, we'll be taking a break somewhere between 11:30 and noon, depending on how we're moving through the agenda. Members, if at any moment or staff, you need to take a break that requires us to stop, please let us know that. And I want to ask the members if they want to make any introductory comments at this point. Okay, hearing none. Is there, so public comment on items not on the agenda? At this time, I'll ask if the public would like to address the committee at this time for any items not on the agenda. Identifying yourself is voluntary, and at this time, we'll open the meeting for public comment on any items not on the agenda.
And this is the moderator. Typically, we check for public comment in person first and then in the WebEx meeting. So is there any public comment in the room in Sacramento?
No.
Thank you. And so I'll open it up now for public comment on WebEx. If you would like to make a comment on an item that's not already on the agenda, you can look for the hand icon, typically at the bottom of your WebEx screen. Although if you're on a mobile device, that might be behind the 3-dot other options on your device. If you would like to make a comment, you'll have 3 minutes to speak, the 30-second warning. Are there any comments for something that's not already on the agenda? I do not see any hands raised, so I'll turn the meeting back to you, Chair.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
At this time, we will receive an update from Department of Consumer Affairs, the DCA, and discussion. At this time, I'll ask Judy Bucciarelli. Pardon me if I did not pronounce your name correctly, with Board and Bureau Relationships to present the agenda item.
Okay, good morning, members. Again, my name is Judy Bucciarelli of the Department of Consumer Affairs, Board and Bureau Relations, and it's a pleasure to be here with you today and to provide the DCA update. My first update is on the DCA executive team. I'd like to share that Chief Deputy Director Christine Lowley has been named the Acting Director of the Department of Consumer Affairs. She enters this role following the retirement of Director Kimberly Kirchmeyer. Director Lowley brings extensive experience to the position, having served in multiple leadership roles within the department since 2013. She will lead DCA in this position until a new director is formally appointed by the governor's office. The DCA Executive Office would like to thank the committee and staff for their hard work and partnership last year, and we are excited about 2026 and the many opportunities that await us. Next, I have a short update on governor activities, his final State of the State address. On January 8th, Governor Newsom delivered his final State of the State address, reaffirming California's role as a national beacon for democracy and an economic engine with conscience, pushing back against federal overreach while boldly investing in jobs, education, affordability, climate action, and recovery from the Los Angeles wildfires. Next, the governor's proposed budget is balanced for the coming fiscal year, reflecting a surge in state revenues, forecasting more than $42 billion higher than projected at last year's enacted budget. The budget does not include new significant spending proposals. Instead, it builds on prior policy successes and continues to implement critical investments in priorities such as education, affordability, small businesses, wildfire mitigation, and more. Next, this month marked 1 year since the devastating firestorms that swept through LA County. California remains committed to helping survivors recover with an all-of-government approach, building on efforts that have accelerated recovery and supported communities. On this anniversary, DCA2 reaffirms its commitment to support survivors and helping the community heal. Next, I have an update on renewal fee postponement. Governor Newsom took action to assist licensees affected by the LA fires and swiftly issued an executive order to allow a 1-year postponement of renewal fees for survivors impacted by the fires that were due for renewal between January and June of 2025. DCA has begun to sending notices this month to licensees who renewed their license in 2025 and chose this postponement option with a reminder about the 1-year postponement and renewal fee due dates. Licensees with license types in the BREEZE system can pay these renewal fees through their online account. All licensees with license types not in the BREEZE system may submit their payment via email. And my next item is on the governor's reorganization plan. And I know that at the last meeting that was out of town, one or more of the members requested more information. I did some research last night on the governor's website, and unfortunately, I wasn't able to find much that was different than what was presented to you in October. So I'll just move through this update with what I have. Last year, Governor Newsom released his proposed 25-26 state budget, which included a proposal to split DCA's oversight agency, the Business, Consumer Services, and Housing Agency, into 2 state agencies, the California Housing and Homelessness Agency and the Business and Consumer Services Agency. After public hearings and review by the Little Hoover Commission and the legislature, the governor's reorganization plan was enacted on July 5th, 2025. The new Business and Consumer Services Agency will be responsible for consumer affairs, licensing, and enforcement, and the Department of Consumer Affairs will be among the 8 departments in this new agency. The new agencies will officially become operative on July 1st, 2026. DCA continues to participate in multiple agency work groups on the logistics required to transition to the new agency and will continue to keep Board and Bureau leadership apprised throughout the months ahead. Any information regarding the reorganization plan can be found at gov.ca.gov. Next, I have a few travel reminders. To best serve the public, it is incumbent upon all of us to ensure that we are being fiscally prudent in our decisions, especially when traveling for board and bureau business. On June 9th of last year, the Department of Finance issued guidance for out-of-state travel in the upcoming fiscal year. Travel outside of California will be limited to essential travel that is required to conduct state business, meaning requests should only be made for mission-critical needs. DCA distributed a memo to all boards and bureaus on June 16, 2025, detailing the criteria for mission-critical travel, including but not limited to enforcement actions, revenue collection, statutory requirements, auditing, and litigation. All travel requests must be provided to DCA's budget office 8 weeks in advance of travel to allow for review by DCA, agency, and the governor's office. Please contact your assigned DCA budget analyst with any questions. Additionally, DCA would like to remind members and staff to evaluate if a rental car is always necessary versus ride-sharing services. Carpooling is also highly encouraged when renting vehicles. We know that there may be new travel costs that members are experiencing as well, such as baggage charges, so please keep receipts to ensure that you can be reimbursed. Next, I have an update on Form 700, Statement of Economic Interest filing. As we kick off a new year, DCA would like to provide a reminder about Form 700 filing. Forms must be filed within 30 days of assuming or leaving your appointment and annually by April 1st. This year's annual filing period covers the prior calendar year, July 1 through December 31st, 2025. The deadline for filing this year is Wednesday, April 1st. To ensure compliance, DCA is requesting that Form 700 filers complete the e-filing by Friday, March 20th. DCA Board and Bureau Advisory Committee members must file Form 700s through the California Fair Political Practices Commission, also known as the FPPC, in the online portal. Paper filings will not be accepted. Members should have received an email from the FPPC with instructions on how to file your Form 700. If you have any questions, please contact Board and Bureau Relations at memberrelations@dca.ca.gov for assistance. Next, I have a few training reminders and some new information. The first training is unconscious bias training. DCA's training unit has developed unconscious bias training specifically for board and bureau committee members. This training will also be added to members' LMS accounts by January 30th. The training will also be incorporated into the onboarding process for all newly appointed members. Next, DCA's annual President's Training will be taking place on February 24th from 10 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. This virtual training is for board presidents, vice presidents, advisory group, and committee chairs and vice chairs. The virtual training serves as a forum to share best practices for presiding over a board, advisory group, or committee. Please register online using DCA's learning management system. Next, I have a board member orientation update. Board member orientation, or BMOT, is an all-day virtual training that DCA will offer on April 1st, June 24th, and October 21st of this year. This training must be completed within 1 year of appointment and reappointment to a board, bureau, or committee. Please register for the first available date to ensure compliance. Members can register for BMOT using DCA's learning management system. A reminder will be emailed to members who need to take this training by the end of this month. If you have any questions or need assistance accessing these or other mandated trainings, please contact Board and Bureau Relations at memberrelations@dca.ca.gov. And thank you for your dedicated service to protect California consumers. This concludes my report, and at this time, I'd be happy to answer any questions from the members.
Thank you so very much for your report. Really appreciate it. And thank you for making reference to John's questions last meeting that spoke to the splitting into two entities. John, were you, well, John has entered our meeting room. Legal, do I need to do another roll call at the end after we get done discussing, or do I need to do another roll call now?
We can do another roll call now. It looks like John is fully on camera, so we
Yes.
don't need to explain why he's not on camera. But yeah, we can do a roll call in order to document all the members at the meeting now.
Okay, great. Marty, would you be so kind to do roll call again?
Absolutely. Okay, Pamela Brief,
Here.
Patricia Trouth,
Here.
Susan Landry,
Present.
John Rosinski,
Present.
and obviously I'm here.
Yes. And Marty Armstrong is here.
Yes.
Excellent. Do we
Thank you.
have a quorum?
Yes, we do.
Excellente. All right. We are good to go. Okay, thank you again for your report. John, were you on during the part of the report that touched on your questions about impacts, if it will have impact to any financial
No,
part of the board?
Unfortunately, I was not. And I was just going to ask for a really brief statement on the specific question that I had about splitting DCA in half, and if, what the findings were, if that was going to potentially have any effect on us.
Yes. It was
John,
reported.
this is Laura Zuniga in the room. Judy gave an update from DCA. She didn't have any additional information. There isn't a lot more detail provided by the governor's office on this. Your question was DCA itself isn't split, but you mean the splitting of the agency that we're a part of?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think there is a lot of budget impact from that, but I'll see what information I can find out. We'll send an update to the members.
Okay. Because I do have a couple questions when we discuss the budget.
Yes.
When we
Sounds
get to
good.
that. Yeah.
We'll
Okay.
get to that in a moment. Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Thank you,
Other
John.
than that, I apologize. It was a technical issue with WebEx itself. It was nothing to do with the link or anything like that.
Okay, no problem. We're glad you're here now. All right. Does anybody else on the committee have any questions or comments for the DCA on the DCA report? Okay. Seeing none.
Actually, I do have one question. I caught the last portion of this to include the travel restrictions, and it sounded like out-of-state travel is still extremely limited. And it sounded like our attendance at the CLARB meeting is going to continue to be an issue. So I think that's something that we probably need to get further clarification on.
Yes, John, it does depend on what tasks are required of us at the CLARB meeting. So yes, we can further discuss that. Laura and I had talked about the fact that yes, it does make it tough. But if there are specific tasks that are important for us to take care of there, then that is certainly a way we can go about saying there's a need. Okay. I just have a couple things. Marty, I want to make sure for the February 24th meeting, did you get an email inviting you to that?
I did. Yeah.
Okay.
And I'll be responding to it today.
Yeah. Okay. I haven't either. So we're in the same boat.
Yeah, we're in the same
No
boat.
worries.
Perfect. Yep.
Okay. And then the board member orientation, everyone, if that does come due for you, please follow up as soon as possible. And then I think that's it. Yeah, Marty, I just wanted to make sure you were getting included in all of that now that you're chair. Okay, very cool. Okay, John Roszinski.
Yeah, I just did have one other question in regards to the Form 700. If we have specific questions on any portion of that, I assume that we contact DCA and not LATC in that regard.
Yes, I believe when you're filling out the form, there is information on the form I've seen in the past about who to contact. Judy, is that correct still?
Yes.
Great. Thank
Yes,
you.
that is correct. Yeah,
Okay.
and this
All
is
right.
legal. Also, there's on the Fair Political Practices Commission, which is the party that publishes and reviews and collects and does all the things for the Form 700. There's a lot of information that is there. I do believe they have contact information for specifics. And you can also reach out to Laura or Kim to see if there's something that I can assist with. But a lot of times I'm going straight to their webpage and whatnot. And if I'm unable to locate it, that would be my recommendation, would be that you call them directly.
Okay, but that's the
All right,
Fair
thank you.
Political Practices Committee?
Yeah, Fair Political Practices Commission,
Commission.
FPPC, but if you do a Google search for Form 700, it'll pop up.
Oh, okay. Thank you. All right. Any other questions from members? All right, seeing none, I will ask moderator, can you please open for public comment?
Certainly. Are there any requests for comments from public attendees in the room?
There is no public in the room. We can let you know when there are.
Fantastic, thank you. So for those logged in on WebEx, if you've got a question about the DCA update, you may use the hand raise icon. Typically that's in the bottom row of your WebEx screen. If you're on a mobile device, that might be behind the 3-dot other options. Each speaker will have 3 minutes with a 30-second warning. Are there any comments on the DCA update? I do not see any raised hands, so I will turn the meeting back to you, Chair.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Okay, Judy, thank you very much again for your report. We appreciate it very much. We will go to the next agenda item, which is the budget update from the DCA Budget Office. In discussion of the same, I'll ask Luke Fitzgerald to present this agenda item. My apologies, I'm having trouble speaking today.
All right, good morning. All right, thank you everyone. My name is Luke Fitzgerald and I'm a budget analyst with the DCA Budget Office, and I'm joined by Suzanne Balkus, the budget manager. I'd like to thank the committee and executive staff for allowing me time to present on agenda item E, which is the committee's expenditure projections and fund condition statement. First, I'm going to go ahead and start with the committee expenditures, which is going to be on the first page of your meeting materials. These projections are based on actual data through fiscal month 5. This report includes 2024-2025 actual expenditures in green, as well as 2025-2026 budgeted and year-end expenditures in blue and orange. As we move to the end of the document, you'll see the committee had a beginning base budget of $1,144,000 and is projected to spend a total of approximately $972,000, creating a reversion to the committee's fund of approximately $172,000. The next document is going to be the committee's revenue, which is on the next page of your materials. This report includes receipts collected through November, and I'll actually go further into these projections as we transition to the next slide. The next document is going to be the committee's fund condition statement. And as a quick reminder, we read this document from top to bottom and left to right. The left column is going to be the committee's prior year 2024-2025 actuals. This column shows the committee began 2024-2025 with a beginning balance of $645,000. The committee collected $1,392,000 in revenues, with $161,000 from initial license fees, $1,169,000 from license renewals, and $62,000 was collected from the issuance of citations, fines, delinquent fees, and other revenue. The committee expended $886,000, which includes $65,000 in direct draws to the fund for statewide pro rata. The committee ended 2024-25 with $1,151,000 in reserve, or about 13 months in reserve. For current year, 2025-2026, the committee projects revenues of $1,210,000, with $133,000 projected from initial license fees, $1,019,000 from renewal fees, and $58,000 from the issuance of citations, fines, delinquent fees, and other revenue. The committee's 2025-26 expenditures are based on fiscal month 5 projections at $1,061,000 between authorized expenditures and direct draws to the fund, leaving the committee with a fund balance of $1,300,000, or about 12 months in reserve. In the next two columns, we have 2026-27 budget year and 2027-28 budget year +1. These are based on the pre-governor's budget, except for the income from surplus, which is formula driven. The Budget Office will continue to monitor the committee's revenue and expenditures and report back to the committee with monthly expenditure projections as we continue to close fiscal months in the current year. And then just a few final things to note on the committee's fund condition. The fund condition is a snapshot in time. One of the main factors driving expenditure increases in future years is a result of personnel service adjustments. These include general salary increases, as well as employee compensation and retirement rate adjustments. The Budget Office includes a conservative ongoing 3% increase to expenditures on the fund condition statement to account for these ongoing incremental adjustments. You'll also notice that revenue is projected in a high-low estimate in the out years. And then lastly, I'd like to note to the committee that any future legislation or unanticipated events could result in the committee's need for additional resources, which could create cost pressure on the fund. The Budget Office will continue to monitor the committee's fund condition statement and keep the line of communication open with the executive staff for any future needs or expectations. Again, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to present at today's meeting, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Mary, very much for your report. I am going to start with a few questions I have, and then I will open it up to the members and Vice Chair as well. Okay, so from last month, the questions that we had posed was the request to include the prior reserve balance on the current sheet. And I see that you have included that, this report on note 3 of the analysis of fund condition sheet. Thank you for that. That is very helpful. It leads me to one of the questions that I have. When we start to look at reserves, so the actuals that you're showing for the 2024-2025 are showing a 13-month in reserve. Can you explain why when we look at budget year 26-27 on the analysis of fund conditions, we are lower in our month's reserve by 0.2? Am I looking at the document correctly?
Yes. Yes. So you're seeing the months in reserve jump from 13 to 12. Is that
Down
correct,
to,
or is it
down
from
to
the 12 to the
12.8
12.8?
for the budget year that you're. So why is it going? Why are our months in reserve going down?
And this is Suzanne, the budget manager, so I'm going to answer that question. One of the things that you're going to see, the reason it's going down is because the 24-25 is based on actuals, 25-26 is based on projections, and the budget year 26-27 is based on full appropriation. And you can see in the expenditure that the committee have been having some savings, and that contributes to the fund. So whenever there is a savings or they're not spending to full appropriation, that is going to be impacting your fund, and then your monthly reserve is going to increase. So right now we are doing full appropriation for 26-27, and then 27-28 is also based on a 3% increase, and that's where you will see that it went from 13 to 12.8.
Okay, and on that note, when we look at the total expenditures of the actual 2024-25, we see expenditure adjustment of 886. Why are we jumping up to 1298 in the budget year 2026-27? That's quite a significant jump.
Yeah, so it is the same thing. So in 24-25, the committee have savings. So that 821 in the line item 1111 Department of Consumer Affairs, this was not based on full appropriation. However, in 26-27, the 1,190,000 is based on full appropriation, but we know that the committee have savings. Additionally, for the statewide pro rata, you will see that it went from 65 to 108. And so that is a big jump, and that's why you will see that it went from 886,000 to 1.3 million, approximately.
And we've continued to ask this question, and I don't know. Well, for me, I do not feel like our question has been answered. On the well, and maybe like to our understanding, knowing that numbers are your thing, and maybe not landscape architecture's thing. The 1111 Department of Consumer Affairs, that significant jump. We keep seeing this line item, but we don't see any detail about what specifically is being charged to us in this realm. And the reason that I ask this, I'll tell you like kind of where I'm going here and why I'm sort of picking on this particular thing. As you know, our fees increase significantly, and for a small group of licensees such as landscape architects, this was a big hit and doubled our fees. I don't have proof of this. I have concern, and possibly staff might have some more information on this. But what concerns me is because of the burden just everywhere, because of costs, we worry that some of the younger emerging professionals may have trouble getting licensed because of this big increase. So we're really looking at when and how we can reduce costs of our operating and how we can get to a reserve that is comfortable so that we can discuss lowering our fees. And I think I do speak for the rest of the LATC when I say that this is really a concern of ours. So Suzanne, that's kind of where I'm going on this. Is it possible to get more detail on this 1111?
Sure.
I just don't understand why it's continuously increasing to such an extent.
No problem. So the 111, it is actually based on your expenditure. So if you look at the first attachment, you will see that the committee expended, or we're projecting an expending of 972,000. So that is
which sheet is that? Can you tell me which document
sure,
that
the
is?
expenditure, yes. So it's the expenditure projections, which
report?
is
okay.
The expenditure report. So if you look in the bottom where it says overall net total, it says 972,200, that's what we're projecting that the committee is going to spend in 25-26. And that is going to be reflected in the fund condition under the line item 1111, where you're going to see for the 25-26, the 972. And of course, we round it, and that's why you're going to not see the 200 because it's rounded. The reason it increases, if there is a lot of factors, but few of the factors that the reason that you're going to see an increase ongoing, because this impacts the GSIs. So any union negotiation, bargaining unit negotiation, when we have the 3% increase in the salaries or a decrease in salaries, or when you see that there is a retirement impact, all of that is going to be in that line item, which is going to be included in your expenditure. Plus there is the rent increase, AG, OAH, and there is that. There is some contracts that you're going to see because of the economy is everything is going expensive, it's getting expensive. So that is, you're going to see that when there is any purchases happen, it could be that if you're comparing a year or two ago to now, that expenses went high. So there is several factors why it is high. The reason you'll see that it goes to 1.2 and then, another 1.226 is because we have to put in there, with the fund condition, and you'll see that on the note number 2, we add a 3% increase in budget year +1. The reason is because, again, it is for any increases in salaries on benefits that we know that we anticipate that is going to happen, since the negotiation with the unions that always results in an increase of some sort to the staff. So we put a conservative 3% increase.
Pamela, this is Laura. Do you mind if I ask a question that I think, so I can understand maybe what you're asking?
Yes.
It sounded to me like what you're asking is what is included in the expenditures in that category. So of that money that is listed on that item and the fund condition, the actuals for 2024, 2025 of $821,000 for that line item, you're asking where it's going, like what costs are in there or what are included in there?
Yes.
Yeah, and they're not, I think they're asking for more detail or more specific information about what that money goes to.
Yes.
What is it buying?
Yeah. What are we getting for this money that is coming out of our pocket?
For the 972, the 111. So that is all of the expenditure, the one you see on the screen. So these are all what it is impacted in that line item, which is salaries and benefits, contracts, rent, purchases, all of that is included in that line item.
And I'm just going to pick one out here. And thank you. I appreciate your help here. If we go to 5306 postage, why are we spending $1,364 on postage? Was that mailing the latest newsletter, which I did get yesterday, and I'm so happy. It's beautiful. Patricia had said she got it earlier. I'm like, where is it? I don't have
No,
mine.
I thought it was
So
great,
I got it
you guys.
yesterday. I'm super excited.
It was very good.
So is that the postage cost?
So that is one of the things that it is included. So anything that is sent and everything and use postage, so it is going to be falling on that line item.
Specifically within our department, not through
Yes.
DSA. Okay.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Very good. Then we get in, facilities costs are operating facilities. Is that correct? Utilities.
So
and such,
facilities
that
cost
facilities?
so it is the rent, or it could be that it is mainly rent, or if there's any DGS services or fees that it is included on there.
Okay, and then what is the department pro rata?
So this is what the committees share of the pro rata that they pay for DCA. So I can give you more detail if you want of what that is and the breakdown and how it is calculated.
Yes.
So one of the things, so this is, the pro rata is for any services, whether it is the budget office, HR, OAS, legal, cashiering. It's a big variety. So any services that we provide to the committee. There is, so we have two sections. So one of them is the Consumer and Client Service Division, which is, that's what I said is a human resource, facilities, budget, contracts, and accounting training. And then we have the Division of Investigation, which is, that is the enforcement services and the sworn officers. So the way it is calculated, we calculate it in several ways. So one of the ways we do is the authorized position count ratio, which is, that is used to distribute costs for units where a primary workload is not available. So mostly it's admin units such as the director's office, human resource, and fiscal operations that are distributed using that methodology, which is the count ratio. Then we have the other way that we calculate it, which is based on past year workload. And so we use that, for example, for the units that they use the call center, that with the workload based on the call volume, the investigation and enforcement unit of the division of investigation, which is based on workloads and the cases hours worked. Then we have the surface center usage, which is used to distribute costs for units that track specific devices or record counts. For example, the Office Information Services, where costs are distributed by number of computers, database record, and license volume. That's to name a few, and other than some contracts that directly impacting the committee. So the department's distributed costs will typically scale based on the size of the program and staffing, but is also impacted by the licensing volume, call volume, and specific enforcement activities, which can drive an increase to the allocation of the cost.
Okay.
If you want any more information on that, we can provide there is the DCA website. It has all of that information, how it is distributed, and
Perfect.
what is the changes happen. So we can provide you that link if you need it.
That would be great. That would be super helpful. Thank you. Yes. And then I'm going to jump down to the other item, 42-210. Is that equipment that internally LATC buys, or is there DCA equipment in here that we are also paying for?
No, so this is all for the committee. So there is nothing in this. The only one that it is distributed between the use and everything is a pro rata. Everything else is an actual cost that the committee is spending.
Actual cost. Okay. Awesome. Yeah. So if we could get that pro rata, that would be great. And then I'm going to move on to, let's see. Yeah, I'm just concerned about this increase. You know, we get these increases and it's not clear exactly why they're going up so much. So yeah, getting us more detail on that so that we can kind of dive into this 1111 thing would be great. Also, Luke, you had talked about the surplus when you were presenting the analysis of fund condition. You said that the surplus is formula driven. I don't understand that. Would you mind explaining that in a little more detail?
Sure. Let me pull up where I specifically stated that.
So I can do some of that. Go ahead, Luke.
Yeah, no, sorry. So that's just going to be the it's line. You can't see it on Excel. It's going to be the income from surplus money investments under revenue. So the
where's that?
formula for that in the so line 4163 under revenue. The out years for that is going to be calculated based on a formula that we put into the file.
And what is that formula based on?
Sure. So the formula is based on the revenue, the expenses, and what is remaining in the fund. So this is the that money that you get. It is the interest of the money that you have in the account. So we are basing it in the out years based on 1.5%. However, just to let you know that this number, the percentage, it is going to change because we have been seeing in the past 2 years that it has been increasing. It's no longer low. So at one point in time, it was really low to the point that it was like 0.4%, and then it started increasing. And so we have been having it as a 1.5 for to be conservative. However, in the past 2 years, we have been seeing that it's actually jumped to almost 4%. So we are going to be reevaluating that in the spring and changing that amount for the budget year and ongoing for that line item. So it is an interest rate. It's not something that it is a revenue driven by specifically licensing or the committee.
So it's based on interest rate.
Correct.
And then is there a multiplier that's put onto that, or is it just simply based on the interest rate?
So we have it right now based on 1.5 interest rate, and of course it takes the formula it takes from what we have the expenditure plus plus the revenue plus what is remaining in the fund.
Okay. And then one last question or request, and then I will pass it on to my colleagues. Would it be possible to look at, for you to produce a document that shows us the months in reserve for the last year? How we've trended?
So based on, you mean every single committee meetings, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, we
can
talk
pull-
about okay, so in the analysis of fund condition, you show 24, 25 was 13, but if we could look at it every quarter, when you've produced a report, if you could you give us just a summary of how that's fluctuated over
Sure.
time so we can see kind of how we're
Okay.
trending? That would be super
Yeah,
helpful.
and just to let you know the reason it fluctuates, so I know that it was 10.6 last time, and then now it's going to 13. And the reason is last time it was based on the Budget Act, so it was based on for the year 25-26, based on full appropriation, meaning that the committee is going to spend the whole amount, which is the $1.1 million, which is they have not, based on what we're seeing, that we're estimating spending of 972. So that saving is going to be incorporated into the month in reserve. And so that's why you will see the jump is now 13. So the way the formula is the 13 months in reserve, it takes not only from the 24-25, but it also takes from the 25-26 to be able to calculate that changes.
Okay, and that's why we're seeing the 2.4 delta. Yeah.
Exactly, yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you for your
Of course.
patience with me here. And I will turn it over to committee. I see Susan Landry, your hand is up.
Yes. How do I turn my hand off? Raise lower hand. There we go. How many active licensees are there?
I'm going to defer that to the committee. I can search it up, but I don't have that with me right now.
It's approximately 3,500.
3,500. And the money in reserve, what is the minimum months we're allowed to have? 8 or 9 or 12 or?
It is 24 months in reserve.
We're supposed to have 24 months in reserve?
No, that's the maximum.
What is the minimum?
So there is no minimum set. However, it is based on committee and everything. We're seeing that if you are about 9 or 9 to 10 months in reserve, that you're going to be safe. So the way that you look at the month in reserve is if you're not collecting any revenue at all, how much the committee can sustain until it runs out of fund. And so that's when we're seeing in the past, if you asked me last year or the year before, I will tell you between 6 to 9 months in reserve. But right now, with the economy and everything, the cost increase, we will say between 9 and 12 months of reserve is a safe space. But every board, every bureau, every committee is completely different. So it is going to be up to the committee to set what they feel like that it is safe for them to be at.
And so I understand that basically we're spending over $500,000 for all of the overhead, and it's based on the formula, but where is there accountability to say, yes, you are using our time spent is equivalent to what this percentage is? And is there a way that we challenge anything? Can challenge anything?
Can you specifically explain for which line item are you talking about?
I'm just saying in general, I'm looking at this budget on the colored one, and it's showing, let me zoom back in here. So it's basically showing our external services, our pro rata right there is $500,000. And of our 1 million, half is going to overhead and city or state services. And you're saying it's based on a percentage, but how much are we actually using? Is this just, is it, to me, it seems like it's a generic percentage, but it doesn't say, yes, you are using equivalent time for all of these things.
Are you talking about the external services or the pro rata itself? Because these are two different ones. So
Both.
which line item exactly?
Okay, let's start with external C-P services.
Okay.
That's
So
a
the
percent.
external
We're
is
being billed a
contracts.
percentage, right?
No, so these are the external is a contract that the committee have with an external services outside of DCA.
Who is that?
Look if you can, if you don't mind looking up the exam details.
Yep.
For that. Thank you. So he's gonna look up that
So it
detail
looks-
for you because we have it on the expenditure, but not on air.
So it looks like for the notes I have, just off the rip, I have Elevon and PSI and Udolka LLC under those line items.
And who are they? LLC, is that an attorney or who are those
So
companies?
Elevon is a contract, it's a credit card contract services, and the PSI is an investigation or a database, something based on for investigation. And then Udoka is a service provided to the committee. We can look up more of the detail of these contracts, but also I believe the committee have these contracts and they can be able to provide that more information on that.
Okay, and then the department pro rata for 240,000.
Yes.
That's a percentage, right?
No, this is what I was just explaining earlier, that it is based on usage. It is based on position count completely with the DCA. It's based on, there is, different services that is provided based on licensing population. So there is a lot of factors goes into that. But another way to look at it is, instead, the department pro rata, like I was saying, it's a human resource, cashiering, legal, and accounting and budgets. So instead of the committee hiring every single staff to do all of these duties, the DCA office does that. But if you're going to hire an individual staff, it's going to cost more than what it is being charged.
Oh, I understand all of that. What I'm asking is that actual tracking hours or is it a percentage of the department? I'm trying to figure out how we can challenge. This is half of our budget, or 3/4 of our budget is going to staff and 2 line items, external and department pro rata. And if you divide back out 1.1 million by only 3,500, I forget what my math came out to here, but it just seems like we're paying a heck of a lot of overhead for only 3,500 people.
Yeah, so again, and I will provide the link for the pro rata, but once again, it is not only based on an actual data, it's based on the position count of the committee comparing to the position count of DCA wide. And then it is divided between that. And then there is other factors, which is spending, actual spending, and actual data, and then equipment. So there is more than one factors goes into that calculation.
Okay. Thank you.
Marty, I see that your hand is up.
I gently put my hand up. So can I get some clarification? So in 24, when we increased our biannual fees $400, did we nearly double all of our expenses across the board by that much in order to justify that increase? And how did that come up?
So your question is, you increased your revenue, and if that increased your expenditure?
Well, yeah, in 2024, our fees, which is our primary revenue generating income stream, it increased from 400 to 700, a $300 increase. Where exactly that doubled it? Well, it's 1.5 times per year. So, did we increase staff by doubling it, or did we increase our expenditures by doubling it? I'm just kind of curious because I wasn't here in 2024, and I don't know how we came up with that number, where that money went, and how we might be able to do an analysis of how we bring that number back to where it was. I mean, it just seems like, we've got a surplus right here of 300,000 in this, what I'm looking at in green, and it seems like we've got an increase, and now all of a sudden we've got reserves that continue to increase. If you're looking at the numbers that are here, but my primary concern is that we're paying more than a lot of professional services. Where is it going? How's our operations that much more than everybody else's, and how's it justified? I'm just curious.
So the fee does not have anything to do with the expenditure. So the fee is what you're collecting from the licensing and everything. The expenditure is based on what the committee is spending. So it's actually committing spending, which is based on positions, contracts, and what we were discussing, pro rata, external contracts, and facilities. So the increase in expenditure is based on a few factors, which is the position themselves. Every single position had a general salary increases. So based on the bargaining unit contract. So whether the increase was 3%, 4%, that is going to be the actual increase. Then there is also retirement increases that was contributed. If you look at the budget letters in the DOF, it will tell you everything what caused the increases and how much everybody got increased by. But other things that it's also makes the expenditure increase is facilities. Of course, the rent goes up every year. The cost of purchases goes up. So if you're purchasing a laptop a year or two ago, it is going to be now more expensive than when you're purchasing it now than when you did 2 years ago. So that is why you'll see the expenditure is higher.
Yeah,
but that does not have anything to do with the, not because the revenue increased, the expenditure increased. It seems that way, but that's not how it goes. It's based on the positions, how many filled positions there are, what the position is, the increase in that specific position. Some bargaining units got increased by 3% based on the last contract bargaining unit that we had the agreement, and some others that they increased by either 2% or 4%. So depends about the bargaining unit that positions fall.
Okay. Yeah, you gave that answer already, but my question now have you done an analysis of how to reduce this number? Have you gone through that exercise?
So that is going to be the committees.
Yeah, on how we can reduce some of these expenditures, because you're showing a surplus, and that obviously says your appropriations for what we need for a budget don't need to be that high. We're operating at 300,000 below it. Are you giving that back to the fees, the fee revenue? Can we do that instead of sitting on the surplus that you're showing here and rolling it over into into the 4163,000 income from surplus money and investments? I mean, you've got a bankroll that's generating revenues. Why does that need to be sitting there for every year when we should be asking for more money from our membership? Can you do that analysis? That's what I would phrase.
So the analysis is done by the committee. They can do the analysis of where they are spending and how they can reduce their spending. But to answer one of your questions, when you are saving, so the budget is 1.1 million, and you're saving 172,000. That is actually going to go back to your fund, and that's when you will see in that current year.
You're going to do this?
Yeah, and so that's where you will see in current year we have 972, not the 1.1 or the 1.2 million. So whatever is that you're reverting back, whatever you're not spending to your appropriation, it is going back to your fund. So that's why you will see here is 972. So next year, 26, 27, even though you're budgeted for 1.2 million, if the committee does not spend that whole amount, that is going to be corrected. So say that you spent 980, then that is going to be the 980, and that's when you're going to see your expenditure reduces and your month in reserve went up. So we don't keep anything. So what are the 172 go back into your funds. However, it doesn't roll to the next year.
I'm wondering if it would be possible, and I think it would be helpful for Marty since he was not here before the increase, if we could see what the revenue was in 2023 before the increase, and see that comparison with where we are now. I think that would be very helpful information.
Sure.
Because and I do debate a little bit that the fees are not exactly tied to our expenditures, because the fees were increased because we were warned by you that we were going to be insolvent if we continued without raising our fees. So there is a direct relationship between expenditures and what we have to charge, because, as Marty said, our fees are really our biggest revenue. And so, you know, it may not be that way with larger boards, but I think we're impacted a little differently because we're a smaller board, like we said, 3,500. I see a hand in
Chair, Chair, this is legal. I did want to, before we kind of wander off on the topic of what is it called? The cushion. What is this called?
Reserve.
Reserve.
the reserve.
I did want to note for the board that you know, the committee. It's up to them how they use their budget, which is why we have this budget analysis. But as a matter of law, if we do not have amounts in reserve and we do go over, each member on this committee is personally responsible to cover the costs of functioning for the committee.
Right. Yes. Thank you for that reminder. Yes, that's very good information.
Camilla, this is Laura. I think the historical information would be helpful to go back and look at. I'm looking at the fund condition now from before we increased our fees, and it is quite a bit different in what our months in reserve look like. And because of our relatively small fund size, the months in reserve can fluctuate quite a bit, so it's hard to maintain a steady reserve. And we did years ago decrease fees when our reserve was too high, but then we quickly had a deficit. So I think if we provide that historical information, it'll give the committee members kind of maybe a more holistic picture to look at and get a better understanding.
Thank you, Laura. Yes, I agree. I think that would be helpful. Marty, and sorry for interrupting in the midst of your time. Do you have anything else?
I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. John Roshinsky, and then we'll go to Patricia Trout.
Why don't you go to Patricia? She had her hand up first.
Oh, did she? I apologize. Patricia, please.
Yeah,
I did not mean to ignore you. Please go first.
No worries. So, I've been on this board for a long time. So I just want to kind of share with Marty what we were told in 23 and 24. And that was that we were doing a major upgrade. All of DCA was doing a major upgrade of the software system. And all of the boards and committees were going to be impacted. That is my recollection of the conversation. And so what I'd like to know, and when we were given that information, it also looked like there was like a beginning date and an end date as to how long it was going to take for us to pay off this software upgrade. So my question is, where does this show up in the budget? Is it equipment? Is it information technology? Maybe you can give us a little more information on that.
So that is one of them falls under the pro rata, which is, that's when we were saying actual cost, which is the BISMOD. but that is part of it, but not all of it. And there is some that it falls under either the external, or it could be going under, it depends about what the software is doing, that is going to fall under the different line item. But some of it is also for the pro rata and for the Bismuth. And again, it depends where the committee is at right now. So it could be that they are if they finalized it and everything, you're not going to be seeing that this year because it's going to be in maintenance. So it depends where the committee is at in that process. So one of the things that we can either, we can reach out to the IT and see where they're at, or the committee would be able to know where they're at in that process since they've been updated of that.
Yeah,
And
so
we're in maintenance and operations right now.
So they're in maintenance right now. Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I didn't hear that, Laura.
We are in maintenance and operations of the Connect system, so it's been implemented, it's online, but the majority of the funding, I guess, has been expended in getting it online, but we're still paying for maintenance on an ongoing basis.
Yeah.
I don't remember the end date for that, so that might be something budget could help us with.
Yeah, so I kind of support what our chair said about getting a little bit more of a breakdown on, these CP services external and then the department pro rata. So, thank you.
And maintenance and operations. If we can find out when you say that some may be in the pro rata, or it could be in 53404-5 through 5. If you could find out specifically for us, that would be lovely.
So it does falls under both line items. So some of it is in the pro rata, which is the maintenance part of it and everything. But sometimes the committees have an external contract, and that is when you're going to see it under external. So we can look at more information on that from last year, since now they are in there's no more updates, and it's not going to be falling under the external. So we can look at last year's. However, just wanted to let you know, so we have been also, when we send it to the program, we send the whole everything with the detail. So maybe that can be provided to you. However, when we're presenting in a board meeting, everything is, shrinked into just like that line item. However, we have the detail and we have all of what the contracts are, the amounts and everything when we're sending it to the committee.
Okay, that would be great. Yeah,
so that can be provided to you. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think basically what we're asking today is any detail you can provide us on some of these larger numbers would be greatly appreciated. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, John Rusinski.
You're muted.
Oh, are we?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, first of all, I want to thank everybody who's involved in putting these numbers together, because I'm sure it's not an easy exercise to do this and keeps us on track. And I want to apologize if I go over some of the things that Pamela touched on here a little bit earlier. So I have a number of questions here. And probably one of the key ones is having to do with a question that I've asked a couple times in the past, and that is, has the due fee increase had any specific effect on the number of licensees that we have, and specifically renewals? I'm just curious about that. And then kind of as a side question on that, we can see that there's a number of candidates, California candidates, who are completing the LARE. And I'm just curious if there's been any tracking on how long it's taking those candidates to complete the CCSE successfully and then applying for licensure. Because I think, as it was stated, there really are primary revenue source. And so I'm just curious if there's been any look at that.
Hi,
And that,
John.
yeah,
Oh, go
that
ahead.
might be.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say that's probably more of a question for staff than.
Yes, I can answer that. The first thing I heard you ask about, like, since the fee increase, you're asking about licensure. And what I can share is that between January 2020 and May 31 of 2025, so roughly a 5-year period, during which the organization underwent a fee increase. So in 2023, 5.8% of people did not renew, and in 2024 that jumped to 12.9, and by 2025 you had a 17.6%. And so we are seeing a significant increase over time in the number of individuals who opt not to renew. And we measure that by just looking at basically delinquency status, people who have not paid. We looked at individuals who told us that they were retiring. We have that number as well. And we also looked at that information by age. But the overall point is, since the fee increase, to answer your question, there has been an increase in the number of individuals electing not to renew their licensure.
Okay. Yeah, because I was going to say on one of Marty's points is I think that that's an area that we need to start looking into a lot more closely to find out are the non-renewals strictly based on the fee structure, or are there other reasons why people are choosing not to renew? So that's something that in the future we should probably set up a task or something to look at that a little bit closer. So the next thing that I want to go over, and again, I apologize because I have several things here. I'm looking at the analysis of fund condition. And under the notes, item 2, expenditure growth projected at 3% beginning beyond year. When I see that 3% figure, the first thing that comes to my mind is when we're looking at our actual expenditures totals here, that I would anticipate that increase is roughly 3% per year. And that's not the case at all, because when I'm looking at the expenditures, item 1111 and 9900, for the Department of Consumer Affairs, state operations, the comparison between the actuals for 24-25 and the anticipated or projected costs for the 27-28, it's actually a 50% increase. And in my mind, that goes well beyond the anticipated annual increases in labor costs and that type of thing. There's got to be something else that's really driving that. And when we look at the statewide general admin expenses, the pro rata, that's actually a 66% increase. And I think that it behooves us to understand precisely why those things are increasing as they are, because my concern is that, we went through this exercise to increase our fees based on the financial situation at the time that we did that. And if we look at these increases in expenditures over the next several years, I'm concerned that our current fee structure might not be enough in the end to even cover that. So that behooves us to look much more closely at what's involved in that, because I think the state owes not just our committee and board, but everybody within the Department of Consumer Affairs and our licensees, that we all understand where this is headed. And as far as I'm looking at these numbers, it's not looking really good. So anyway, I want to go back up to the expenditure projection report, and I have a few basic questions here. And my first question is the two items in the green columns. I'm assuming that what that was what the past year budget had been projected at, and the FM13 is what the expenses actually ended up being for the year. Is that correct?
That's correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so everything in the blue column then is our current budget year. And so we have our budget and then year to date and that type of thing. So anyway, let's see. So one question that I had is that for the facilities line item 5324, it looks like we're showing a projected deficit at the end of the year. And I'm just curious, is there a reason why we seem to continue to have a deficit for that particular line item? Because if I'm not mistaken, it seems like every year we end up in the red on that particular one. And just curious if there's something driving that our budget is not reflecting. Let's see. The next item that I have here is, let's see if I can find it here. Yeah, under the CP services external, it looks like we had a budget of $250,000 for the year, and year to date, and I'm assuming we're basically just about halfway through our budget year, it looks like we've only spent roughly $8,000. So I'm just curious on that particular line item, what had been proposed that the budget was set at $250,000, and so far we're halfway through the year and we've only spent $8,000. So that's showing like roughly a $213,000 surplus at the end of the year. Can anybody answer that question?
Sure. So for the first one, for the facilities, so the reason you're going to be seeing that it is in the negative because the budget for that line item is $15,000. So that budget does not change year after year. You can see that even the year before is the same. So it was set when the committee was established, and the actual rent is currently $53,652. So, and that's changed from the previous year. But just to let you know, when we're looking at it in a budget wise, or even Department of Finance looking at it, we don't look at it in every single line item individually. We look at it as a budget as a whole. So even though that you see that it is a negative 38,000 or rounding at 39,000, when we're looking at it, we don't have concern of that specific line item. We look at the budget as a whole. For the second one, Department External, is almost the same concept. So when it is established, the budget established, it doesn't change year after year. However, there was some reduction this year based on a budget letter that was brought in by Department of Finance, which is Control Section 4.05, which is O&E reduction, and that is why you will see that there was a reduction in that line item for the budget. However, the spending that we're assuming $37,000 is this is what the actual cost is. So the budget, it does not align with the expenses, but because it was built based on the position and what they're assuming that is going to be spent when we first established the committee. So, and it is not based on usage exactly. So these line items are when we established the committee, and it is what we have in the Department of Finance. And that's why when I was saying that we don't look at each individual line item individually, we look at it as a whole.
Okay, well, that, boy, I'll tell you, I've got some concerns about that, because if this is all basically set when the committee was formed, and I don't know how many years ago that was, probably at least 10 or so. I think getting back to Marty's point, I think on a lot of these line items, our budget should better reflect what our anticipated costs actually are. And then I think that would give us a much better idea of what our fee structure should be based on the reserves that we would feel comfortable with. And I guess that brings up a question: is LATC, are they directly involved in setting the annual budget each year, or do they basically just say, here's your budget and you figure out how to make it work?
So just an explanation. So we set the budget, however, we don't set it the way we want to either. So we have a lot of budget letters. So the way the budget started is that what is the governor gives as an ending balance, which is the Budget Act. And then based on that, we will be provided every single, during the, when we're preparing for the budget, which is in about August, September, we start receiving budget letter from the Department of Finance. And these budget letters tells us how they want us to adjust everybody's budget. So, and that's when I was saying that the budget is changed based on bargaining units. So they give us a list of what the bargaining unit contracts are, what the increase in benefits. So the main impact that we have every year, it is going to be under personal services. However, this year, or actually it started last year, but it moved also to this year, it was postponed. The governor proposed the vacancy reduction as well as OA&E reduction, which is control section 4.05 and 4.12. And so these were unique and was a one-time thing. So then we build based on this budget letter, we do the adjustments, and then whether the budget is going to be reduced from the previous year or it is going to be increased. And then we provide that to the committee, and based on that budget, everything else is going to be, the spending is based on what the committee is going to spend. So if you're trying to achieve savings, I would have that discussion with Laura to see how we can reduce some expenses. But we cannot, the budget office, we cannot just reduce expenses and saying, okay, reduce that, because that we don't have that authority to do so. What we do is, this is what your projection, when we're seeing that if you're going to the negative, then we will be reaching out and it's like, okay, let's try to achieve savings.
Okay. Yeah, because my concern are just on those line items where we end up in a deficit each year. And it seems that that seems to be a year-to-year thing. And I just feel like the budget should be adjusted to accommodate for those particular items. But my last question on this one is the line item for equipment. Can you explain what the encumbrance would be for that? Because it looks like we're anticipating a substantial deficit on that line item as well. And I guess my question in part would be, what equipment purchases had been planned for the year? Because it looks like there was only a budget for 6,000, and it looks like, including the encumbrance, it was going to be roughly 6 to 7 times that amount.
And I will defer to either look it up, or even Laura can able to provide what was the purchases. But mainly, a lot of the general, it is going to be laptops or printer, scanners, shares, but I would defer what the exact costs were. Let's look it up and I will let you know.
John, this is Laura. Are any equipment purchases would have been for laptops?
Okay. Okay. Let's see here.
Can I just add something? You were saying
Sure.
that you want to change the budget. If
Well,
you
what
would
I'm
like to do
saying-
that,
What I'm saying is that if we know, like for instance, if we end up every year with a deficit in facility costs, and we know like over the past several years, this is roughly what it's been, instead of going with a figure of what is it, like 15,000, which was set maybe 10 years ago, and we're spending 60,000 every year, why don't we just change that line item so it says 60,000? That's what we intend.
so if you want to do that, we are okay with doing that. However, it needs to go through Department of Finance. So what we can do is work with Laura and to establish what you want the budget to be. There is some areas that we cannot change the budgets for. For example, if you have AG, OAH, or you have the pro rata, these we cannot change the budget for these line items. And personal services, these cannot be changed. These are based on changes that happen, which is based on budget letters. However, if you want to move some money from, like saying facilities, from the external to facilities, we can do that. However, we need to be having to send all of this to Department of Finance. Department of Finance have to approve these changes prior to being posted. So we can work with Laura and the committee and to see how you want to change that budget in a specific line item. So that way you do not see the negative. But I'm going to let you know it's not going to be the impact. You're not going to see it right away because it has to still pass finance and it has to still get approval.
Right. Okay. I just have one last question. And that is, are there other boards that are expressing the same concerns that we have and are actually going through the exercise of adjusting their budgets?
To be honest, no. Just because we give the same explanation a lot of times is whether us or Department of Finance or legislation, we don't look at the individual line item like I know that the committee does or the board. We look at it as a general, that this is the budget and this is what you're spending. You are in the positive. We're good. But I understand your concern. It's not we understand your concern because when you're looking at it and you're seeing a negative value, you're like, oh my God, why were we overexpending on that line item? But the way we look at it as a budget perspective, it's different view.
Mm-hmm.
But so that's the way we explain it. I personally have 23 programs or so. I know some of them ask these questions. It's not I didn't, but now that raised a concern that to change these amounts. But again, I'm more than happy to work with you on changing these and moving it over to the to DOF. But I think it's going to be approved.
Okay. All right. That's everything I have. Thank you very much.
Of course.
Patricia Traub, I see you have your hand up again. Do you have a question?
No, I'm sorry. I never put it down. Excuse me.
No worries at all. Yeah, and just to reiterate what Suzanne and Luke, what I said at the beginning, I think where we're coming from in all of this is that, because of the numbers and now subsequently what Kimberly has shown us today in the renewals kind of waning to a large percent, it is very concerning that this increase in fees that we were forced to put upon the licensees is making a direct impact into the number of licensees in the state. And that is a concern for the health, safety, and welfare of Californians. If there's less of a pool, that's not necessarily a good thing. So, I think, just ultimately we want to see how we might get to a point where we can lower our fees. But if we're seeing a continued decline, that's never going to happen. And it's going to become unaffordable as well for many people, for many licensees. So it's just a concern we want to be very mindful of as the committee members, and looking at this from a health, safety, welfare standpoint as well. So I appreciate your time answering our questions. If there are no other questions from the committee, I'll ask that we turn this over to public comment.
Thank you. And assuming there are no members of the public in the room, we will move to members of the public logged into WebEx. If you'd like to ask a question or to make a comment on the budget report, you may look for the hand icon and click that to raise your hand. Each speaker will have 3 minutes with a 30-second warning. Any comments on the budget? I do not see any requests. I will turn the meeting back to you, Chair.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And again, thank you both for your time, for your reports, and for answering our multitude of questions. We appreciate it. And thank you also for offering to give us more detail. We look forward to seeing that at the next meeting. We will now go to our next item. We will review discussion possible action to approve the October 21st, 2025 LATC meeting minutes. I'll ask first, members, are there any comments on the minutes? No. Okay, seeing, John Rosinsky, your hand is raised.
Yeah, I do have a few corrections. Let's see, let me open this up. Just a few notes that I had. Let's see if I can find them. Under item F, review, discussion, and possible action to approve the July 24th minutes. Patricia's name was misspelled.
Thank you for catching that. I did not see that.
And then let's see. And then under item H1, first line of the second paragraph, I think that particular line needs to be wordsmith because it looks like stated that there were no regulatory proposals, and then it says are planned. So I just think that line needs to be cleaned up. And then on page 6, the second little paragraph there, it looks like that sentence got cut off. It just ends at "and discussion," and it looks like the rest of that sentence somehow wasn't completed. And then let's see here.
I see insured after discussion. Do you?
Yeah.
And then it just pauses off. Okay.
Yeah, that sentence didn't get completed.
Okay. I'm just making a note of that. Thank you, John.
Yeah, and then on page 7, the last paragraph, start of the second line, the word shared is misspelled. Let's see here. And then I had one other question, and it is in regards, this is on page 8 under item 3, review, discuss the possible action on the strategic plan item 3.1. I had a question. Well, actually, I'm sorry. It's item I, review, discuss, and possible action on the UCLA extension program approval. There was no note on that item that Chair Brief had recused herself during this item. And I was just curious if there should have been some note added to that so that it was understood that she had to recuse herself because of her participation in that program.
Yeah, that's a good point, John. Thank you for that.
And that was the only comments that I had.
Thank you, John.
Mhm.
Anyone else? The only thing that I had on here was I had just put a box around the conversation that we had on DSA and the green schoolyards. I think that is we did discuss it. I think we should keep it on the agenda until we sort of come to some sort of conclusion on it. And I think we had kind of talked about that during the meeting. So I just want to reiterate that that is something that we should do going forward. And we continue to have conversations on that internally. You guys are doing you guys are diving deep into this, and we really appreciate you doing all of the work you have. I know legal's involved now too. Thank you. That is all I had. That's the only comment I had on this. Anybody else? Okay. Seeing no comment, do we open up for public comment now on this? Legal?
It's always a good time for public comment.
Excellent. I like your ideas. Let's open for public comment.
Thank you. I assume there's still no public in the room, correct?
That is correct.
Thank you. And if anyone on WebEx would like to make a comment on the minutes, you may look for the hand icon and click that to raise your hand. That icon is typically at the bottom of your WebEx screen, although if you're on a mobile device, it might be behind the 3-dot other options. And each speaker will have 3 minutes with a 30-second warning. Any comments on the minutes? I do not see any requests. I'll turn the meeting back to you.
Thank you very much. At this time, I will ask for a motion to approve the October 21st, 2025 LATC meeting minutes with the items as noted per John Roshinsky and Pamela Brief.
So moved.
Do I have a motion? John Roshinsky's jumping in there. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Oh, I
Thank
was
you.
on
That's
mute.
Patricia
Second.
Trout seconding. I will ask Vice Chair, will you please take a roll vote? A roll
Yes.
call vote.
It's actually, so it's
Oh.
always a good time to make public comment, but it's required to make a public comment after a motion is made and seconded before the vote.
My apologies. We will open up again for public comment.
This is the moderator. If anyone would like to make a comment on the minutes or the motion, you may look for the hand icon and click that to raise your hand. Are there any comments on the minutes or the motion? I do not see any requests for comment. I'll turn the meeting back to you.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Vice Chair, would you so kindly do a roll call vote?
Absolutely. Pamela Brief,
Aye.
Susan Landry,
Aye.
Patricia Trouth,
Aye.
John Roshinsky,
Aye.
Marty Armstrong, aye.
We have a unanimous vote.
Unanimous vote.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Marty. Our next item is the Program Manager's Report. I'll ask Kim McDaniel to present this agenda item.
Okay, greetings, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the public. Our program managers report. Before I get started, I want to thank my staff because I think we are amazing and they do amazing work in committee meetings. And so I just want to give them tremendous thanks. They're all happen to be here at the meeting today, Bethany, Heather, and Gloria. So I want to thank you publicly for all the work. And especially that little data fact that I threw out there about how many people have not renewed their license. I didn't just happen to have that. Bethany put a lot of work into getting that and reviewing some data, just kind of trying to anticipate some of the questions that might come up as a result of your conversation. So I think they're doing a great job. So thank you guys. Just thank you. So I would like to just go through, let's see, we pretty much have the strategic plan driving our work. You can see that CAB has a meeting coming up in February 26th. And when we get to our last agenda item, we'll be looking for someone who may be able to attend that meeting as the liaison for LATC. The strategic plan drives our work. And as you can see, we continue to progress through and get through some of the goals. And one of the goals is item number 2, which was to see if we could get a practice exam for the CSE, because we know that the layer now has one. And so there was some interest in that. I don't know, do we start with the good news? I'll start with the good news. We had some meetings with OPES. They developed our CSE for us. And what they have been able to do, although they're not able to create a practice exam, a full practice exam, there's several reasons behind that. One of them really is the cost too. It could maybe double our budget for test development. Not really sure that that's necessarily in the domain of protecting the public and what we are responsible for, our mission. And so the middle ground was that they provided us some retired exam questions that will be in the next version of the PSI handbook. And so at least candidates can kind of get an idea of some stuff, you know. And so that's where we landed with that. So we can check that off of our strategic goal tracker. I'm not supposed to ask for questions. So outreach, we continue to do outreach. Heather and Bethany had a wonderful opportunity to visit UC Davis and had just really fabulous students and engagement with those students in person. And that went really well. We are going to be sending out another letter to all of the deans, just letting them know that we're here. You know, if they want us to do a presentation, we can do a presentation for their students during the spring semester. That'll be a practice that we do every fall and every spring, just to remind folks we're here. And it's always good for our students to know what they have to look forward to as they look forward to licensure. Our websites, it's just a daily operational thing that we do. We try to keep up to date with DCA postings, posting the LAIR exams, and any other things. So that's just operationally what we do on a regular basis. Thank you, Heather, for keeping that accurate. Social media, you can see that we just continue to increase in every area, every platform. So again, that's Heather's work in creativity. We are working on just documenting a more formal outreach plan. So maybe one day when we've moved on or retired, that the NICS folks will have something that they can start from to kind of know what they should be doing on a regular basis, like sending the notice to the deans, posting when candidates pass the licensure, just some basic things to kind of leave a framework there. Regs, as you know, last year in 2025, LATC did not have any regulatory proposals. You'll see later in the meeting, you'll be having your first regulatory proposal shortly. In 2026, we anticipate maybe a few others to just kind of do some cleanup in our act and some other things that we've noticed that we want to accomplish. Next, we have our exam program. You can see those numbers. The trends kind of persist from exam to exam sitting. And then page 4 of the program manager's report, the CSE retake, member asked, like, do we know how close folks are to actually passing the test? And so again, Bethany did a deeper dive, and you can see on table C, 5 candidates were within 1 point of passing the exam, and so on and so forth. So they get pretty close. And I can also tell you that for that time frame, for those 12 months in 2024, there were 32 individuals who retook that exam. And so this just shows the 17 who did not pass that, because that was the question. How close do people get to passing that? And so that's the information there for you. And let's see, then more exam data there. And then our enforcement program, Gloria's been busy holding people accountable, make sure that they follow the rules and help protect health and safety of Californians. So that concludes my report.
Thank you, Kim. And yes, kudos to you, kudos to staff for all you're doing. Thank you for showing us specifically each time we meet how you're working toward the strategic plan. I know you're all taking it very seriously, and we and really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Between the magazine, social media, website updates, outreach, just eyes on the strategic plan. I know you guys are working really hard. Thank you so much. I thought it very interesting when I saw, and thank you for this margin of failing chart. It's amazing that I think we can say 60%. If we take 29 and 29 and round it up a bit, that 60% of our applicants are either missing by a small margin or missing by a larger margin. That middle ground, makes up the remainder, but you've got a decent point spread. So I think this is really helpful. And yeah, 29% are almost there, right? They're, just one question away from that. As it comes to the practice exams, and thanks for all the work and getting something that we can provide our test takers, would you be able to send out, or is that being placed on our website, those practice exams where we, LATC, could see that, the members?
Oh, it will be on the website in the PSI handbook.
Okay. And is that something we have access to, Kim?
Yes. And we can send you the link so that you don't have to look for it.
Oh, great. That would be wonderful. Yeah, I'm curious what we're able to get. And I just want to take a look and make sure it's sort of up to date information. I'm assuming they would give us things that were, but I just want to kind of put another set of eyes on it. That's it for me. Thank you very much for this report. John Rosinski, I see your hand is up.
Yes. I just have a couple of questions here. One under outreach. One question that I had is, are we tracking all of the schools in California offering associate degrees in landscape architecture?
What do you mean by tracking? We know who they are.
Okay, so we know all the community colleges in the state that actually have degree programs in landscape architecture?
Yes.
Okay. And are we actively engaging with each of them? I know we met at Merritt College, which was really impressive, their program. But I'm just curious, in regards to the others in the state, are we making a concerted effort to let them know that we value those programs as well?
We have not done anything like that, but we know who they are. So what would you like us to do specifically?
I guess Well, I guess my first question is it possible to get a list of all the schools in California that do have those programs? Because I've done a little research myself and have not come up with a straight answer. So if you do have that list and you could email it to me, that would be a big help. Let's see. You mentioned on the regulatory proposals that there's an item later on in the meeting where we talk about those.
Yes, it's, I think it's the next item 5
Okay.
after the CLARB item. Yes. No. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll hold my questions for that.
Okay.
Under the table C, the CSE retake, I'm just curious, how many questions are there actually on the CSE exam?
100 questions.
100. Okay. And so how many total points are available on the exam? Is it 100?
It's 100, and I believe either 25 of those are, I get confused, either 25 or 30 of those questions are test item development.
Right.
So we are constantly testing new items,
Right.
updating information. That's why we use our SMEs to keep the test current and updated. So we have to do validation studies, but you've got to have people actually answer those questions to see how well people perform, checking for any biases, and doing all those psychometric tests that OPES does.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I'm happy with the results that we're seeing on that exam because I know in the past, the pass rates for first time were lower, and it looks like those are picking up. So I think the test is probably more reflective with current practice and what the candidates are understanding. And then the other thing in regards to the California candidates on their LARE pass rates, the only comment that I have on that is it looks like under the grading, drainage, and stormwater management section, it's still pretty low on that. And I guess one question that I would have in regards to that is for the what's the pass rate on retaking that section? Maybe we could get that information from CLARB on how many times the California candidates are having to take that section before they successfully pass it.
Yes, we can always ask for that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, that's those are all the comments that I have on this one. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Okay, any other members? Any questions? Thank you again, Kim. I'll open it up for public comment at this time.
You know what? I misspoke. Let me just clarify something. I misspoke. I said 32 retake. There were actually 38 retakes. 32 of those were from California, and the other 6 were from out of state. And we wanted to look at that because it's in my head.
Okay, that's
I
why
know that I
see
said
it on the
32,
paper
but
here.
we had 32 California folks retake, 6 from out of state. And the reason why I just wanted to look at that because I think that kind of came up in our last conversation in the last meeting. And so, yes. So there were 38
were from
retakes.
California, and how many from out of state?
6.
6. Thank you. Okay. At this time, I can open for public comment.
Thank you. This is the moderator. If anyone online would like to make a comment, you may look for the hand icon and click that to raise your hand. Each speaker will have 3 minutes with a 30-second warning. Any comments on the report? I do not see any requests for comment. I'll turn the meeting back to you, Chair.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, we are at the next item being, oh, I'm sorry, I am wrong. The next is update and discuss Council of Landscape Architecture registration boards. And I will ask Laura Zuniga to present this agenda item. And then I think we'll consider taking a lunch break after this.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon. Actually, I don't have anything to update on this item specifically. I am on the member board executive committee meeting. We meet monthly, and we do have a few charges from the board, but nothing to update the committee on at this time. There's still items we're working on that we don't have anything finalized. As you mentioned earlier, we will work on a request to attend the CLARB annual meeting, and will require a level of justification that we will try to meet in order to staff will work on that.
Great, thank you, Laura. John, I see that you have a question.
Again.
You
I'm
leave
just
your hand
curious.
up there.
Yeah, is there any way that we can find out if anybody from California put their name in for the committees on CLARB this year? I know that it's usually in the fall when they ask for volunteers.
Yeah, I don't know offhand, but I will check and send you an email.
Okay, thanks. I'm just curious because it's
Yeah, I was trying to
always,
see if I could one, but no one specific came to mind. So yeah, I will check.
yeah, it's always good to be represented. So
Yes.
Absolutely. Anything else, John? Nope, you're good. Okay. Any other questions? I'll turn it over for public comment at this time.
This is the moderator. If anyone would like to make a comment on the CLARB current events, you may look for the hand icon and click that to raise your hand. Each speaker will have 3 minutes with a 30-second warning. Any comments about the report? I do not see any raised hands. I'll turn the meeting back to you, Chair.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, we have two choices. We can take a little 5-minute break, go through the regulatory update and discussion. We really have 2 agenda items to discuss. I think the regulation update and discussion isn't extremely involved. We might be able to do this succinctly and get us out really before lunch, or if we, need to, we can take our lunch break and then proceed afterwards. Do we have requests from either staff or members? Everybody okay with taking like a 10-minute break and then coming back?
yes.
Yep. And trying
Yes.
to get through this before lunch? Yeah. Is
Yep.
that okay, staff?
Yes.
Okay. All right. 10 minutes from now. And we will see everybody back at that time. I'm showing that that'll be 12:14. Welcome back, everyone. I will ask our vice chair to take roll now that we've returned.
Welcome back, everybody. Pamela Brief,
I am here.
Susan Landry,
Present.
Patricia Trout,
Here.
John Rosinsky,
Present.
and I am your vice chair here, Marty Armstrong, and I'm here. We're all good to go.
Excellent. Everybody's accounted for. We have a quorum. Thank you, Marty. Our next item on the agenda is regulation and update discussion. I'll ask Heather Davis to present this agenda item, please.
Thank you. So my name is Heather Davis, and we're going to be going over proposed amendments. So the amendment updates section 2611 of Title 16, Division 26 of the California Code of Regulations. with the goal being to extend the timeline for the abandonment of a California supplemental exam application from 3 to 5 years. And this will align the abandonment period with LATC's retention schedule and will mirror the abandonment timeframe period for the landscape architecture registration exam layer, which is also 5 years.
Lovely. Thank you. And to confirm, that is the only change that we have to the regulatory section, correct?
Correct.
Great. Thank you very much. Do I have any questions or comments? John Roshinsky.
Yeah, I just had one question. I noticed that for candidates that are initially submitting an application for licensure, that if there's anything missing from their application, they only have one year to correct that, or they have to reapply again. And in this particular case, we're extending the time period from 3 to 5 years. And I'm just curious why candidates that are initially applying only have 1 year basically to correct everything instead of a longer period.
That's almost the standard practice. I've looked at some other boards and bureaus, because you'll have people like apply and they just abandon the application, right? And what we don't want is to be paying for storage on a bunch of abandoned applications. So if you had an intent to pursue licensure, we expect to see some activity within 12 months. We're not in the business of storing people's hopes and dreams when they don't follow up. So that's kind of the reason behind that. We want them to take the steps within that year to move forward, or we just can't, because, there's a cost for us to store the paper. We have storage off site. So that's one of the reasons.
Okay, thank you.
And I'll ask a question for clarification. As said, this is not, for lack of better words, a random increase from 3 to 5. This is aligning with either other documents or other regulatory papers that are in existence that say 5 years on them. Is that correct?
Correct. That's what we hold on to the layer registration exam for. The time frame is 5 years. So it would be mirroring instead of being different.
Right. Yeah. Okay. And that makes sense. Any other questions? Okay. I will ask for a motion to approve the recommendation to the California Architects Board proposed regulatory language to amend CCR Title 16, Division 26, Article 1, Section 2611, Abandonment of Application, as noted. Was that Marty?
Second.
Oh, John moved. Who moved? John?
Second.
Second from Susan Landry. All right. And then I will now turn it over to ask if there is public comment with, given that we have a motion and a second, we will now open discussion for public comment.
Thank you. This is the moderator. If anyone would like to make a comment about the motion or the issue, you may look for the hand icon and click that to raise your hand. Each speaker will have 3 minutes with a 30-second warning. Are there any comments on the issue or the motion? I do not see any raised hands. I'll turn the meeting back to you, Chair.
Thank you, moderator.
You're welcome.
Vice Chair, would you please take a roll call vote?
Absolutely. So just a reminder, board members, we're voting a yay or a nay on this motion on the table. Pamela Brief.
Yay.
Susan Landry.
Yes.
Patricia Trauth.
Yes.
John Rosensky.
Aye.
And Marty Armstrong, your vice chair. Yes, aye.
Fabulous. We have a unanimous vote in favor of this move to approve. Thank you very much, everybody. And thank you for getting us back in line and mirroring things. And that is part of the good work that staff is doing. Thank you very much. Thank you, Heather, for the report. All right, we are going to jump and review future committee meetings and dates. LATC and board meeting dates have been identified for 2026 in our packet. First off, is there any conflict with any of the LATC meetings that have been proposed?
No.
Okay, great. I'll ask.
Actually, I have a question. And I guess this is a comment. When we list the dates, can we also list the day of the week that these meetings are? Because that might, have some bearing on without having to actually look those up.
Staff, can you do that?
Yes.
Thank you. So do we have an LATC member planning to attend the Thursday, February 26th meeting that's in Palm Desert? I don't think we had anybody jumping on that. Let me see. Well, I guess San Diego's close too, but I haven't been to one in a bit. Let me see my schedule. I should be able to do that. I can put myself on that one.
Okay, and if for some reason you can't make that, Pamela, I'll go.
Okay. Thank you, John.
That was the 26th, correct?
February 26th, and that is a Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
All right, great. And do we have a question for staff? Laura, has CAB given you any locations for the subsequent meetings that they're having the rest of the year?
No, I would say the one after the February meeting will likely be in Sacramento, but not after that.
Okay, Sacramento for the May.
Yes.
Okay. Can we get someone from LATC to sign up for that one? Tentatively, right now, we're looking at May 21st, 2026.
And if we
in
meet
Sacramento.
in Sacramento, we should have the option to participate or at least observe remotely if we're in a facility here in Sacramento.
Okay.
If someone can.
That's a Thursday
Chair,
as well.
I'm available for the meeting on May 21st.
Okay, thank you, Patricia. And then August 20th is another date. I'm assuming that's a Thursday as well. They like to meet on Thursdays. Yeah, Thursday. Can we get someone to tentatively sign up for that right now?
You can. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, some of us are termed out and may or may
Oh,
not
we
be
are.
extended. So how do we?
Yeah, there's 3 of us.
I'll put my name on for August. And then Marty, it may be just you and me holding up the fort.
I know.
Well,
Well, you guys will be
have
here until then.
right.
So.
We have a grace period.
Yeah.
But I guess I'm kind of curious if there's a way for us to find out, how many people have applied for, the position. Just curious because there's 3 of us.
Yeah, I
Or
don't
if
know if they'll
anybody
tell
has.
us. Will they tell us that, Laura or Kim? Do you know?
They will not. The governor's office doesn't. And then 2 of you are legislative appointees, and they share even less information. So I can ask board relations if they have any information, but they don't usually. They're not usually able to provide that kind of detail.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I've found that in my case with the Senate appointment that they like to kind of hold all the appointments and then go through everything and then make the selections and announcements at one time, and sometime that drags on for a while.
Mm-hmm. I believe the same thing is happening now through the governor's office as well. My reappointment and was grouped in with a lot of other ones. So
And mine was on the last day of it, like 3 o'clock on the very last day of the acceptance that we got it approved. So,
oh wow, okay, right at the end.
The 3 of you that expired this year, you do all have a 1-year grace period if no one is appointed behind you. So that'll just, be on a case-by-case basis. If all 3 drop off, then the committee won't have a quorum.
Yes, exactly, right.
That's a
Yeah.
future
Marty
Yeah.
and I can't rule the world on our own, right?
oh, really?
We could try.
Oh, you're
Hey, Marty.
underestimating us. Come on. We can do it.
Hey, Marty, would you be interested in maybe doing the November 12th CAB meeting, depending on the location?
Depending on the location, November's kind of tough, but
Okay.
yeah, you can go ahead and pencil.
You want to
it.
switch? You want to switch with August 20th?
August would, yeah. Let's see where they're at. Let's see where they're at, and you and I can
Yeah.
determination.
Yeah.
We can
We'll
definitely split
talk
it
as
up.
we get closer.
Yeah, Pamela, if I'm still around, you can pencil me in for that one.
Oh, okay. Okay, so I'll do John for November 12th. And then Marty, we'll get you in there at some point this year, depending on your availability. I know you travel a lot, so
Yeah, that sounds
yeah.
good.
If we're getting close to one, then we can swap you in if you've got time. It would be nice for you to be able to have the opportunity to see one of the meetings.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, you're welcome. Okay. We are good with that. I think we are at the end of our open for public comment. Review of dates. If anybody wants to, would anybody that's on like to join the LATC? I'd love to have you.
This is the moderator. If anyone would like to make a comment on the scheduled dates, you can look for the hand icon and click that to raise your hand. Each speaker will have 3 minutes with a 30-second warning. Any comments on the dates for future meetings? I do not see any requests for comment. I'll turn the meeting back to you, Chair.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I want to thank the members, my vice chair, and all of staff who are present in the room today, and even those that were not able to make it. Thanks again to those that provided reports for us. I'll open it briefly to the members if they would like to say anything as well. Susan.
Yeah, thank you to staff. Thank you to Pam. And the newsletter was great. I thought that was very well done. And I found the one action item against that one person. That was a good story. But no, I think everything's been going great. It's too bad I'm going to be turned out, but it's been a nice 8 years. Then the one last thing, I think you guys remember when I brought my board game and showed you years ago? Well, I'm under production. I got accepted at the New York Toy Fair. It's the the event and to go to sell games in 2 weeks. And it's pretty darn exciting, 10 years in the making. So,
Congratulations, Susan.
Congratulations.
That's great.
Awesome.
and
Yeah.
I shipped a dozen to have at the toy fair for my display, and someone stole them from the post office.
Oh, God.
Oh no.
The United States Post Office allowed someone to walk in and sign for them even though they were supposed to be delivered to the warehouse. And I only had 30 and I had to reship another dozen.
Oh, no. Oh,
Yeah,
no.
I can't believe the post office did that. But I mean, I
Mm.
guess I shouldn't be too surprised, but yeah, this is
Patricia, I
it. This
see.
is
Oh,
the,
no, I'm sorry to hear that.
but so by the time you see me again, I will know whether I was successful or not.
Excellent. We will look forward to hearing from you. Patricia, your hand's up.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I just wanted to say, first of all, Happy New Year to everyone, even though it's the last day of January. Yeah, I really liked the newsletter. That's why I sent out a little email right after I got it. So I think that's great, and it's great to see the public outreach that we're doing, and seeing those percentages increase and whatnot. So thank you to all of you, all staff. Appreciate everything.
Yeah, thank you very much. I do want to say one thing. Kim has asked if we could help her as it relates to the newsletter to identify people at jurisdictions like, planning departments or building and
Chair, I am
safety.
so very sorry, but I do want to make it clear that we're going a
Oh,
little
I'm
off
sorry, we're going off
topic, and I'm
target.
starting to feel very uncomfortable. We're not on
Okay,
the
no.
agenda. So simple thank yous are great, but either we need to open up another agenda item, or
Okay.
I'm really sorry.
No, that's fine. Can I ask to open up another agenda item for next time at this point?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'd
if
like
you
to-
want any topics for the next agenda or something like that.
Okay.
I
I'd
think
like
we
to
have that on our agenda. You can reopen.
Yeah, I would like to open up another agenda item for next time. In response, it tags in with the magazine. I would like for us to consider and provide him with information on jurisdictions that LATC could send the newsletter to. So if we could put that on the agenda for next time, that would be great. And that's it for me. Oh, and Patricia, are you good? Your hand's up.
Are there any other members who have comments for topics on the next agenda?
This is John Roshinsky. I would just say the item that Patricia or Pamela had brought up earlier about continuing to track the DSA issue with landscape architects being able to stamp drawings. If we could just get an update on where that stands.
Great, thank you, John. Anyone else? Okay, we'll open up for public comment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is the moderator. If there are any suggestions for future meeting topics, you may look for the hand icon and click that to raise your hand. Any topics for next meeting? I do not see any hands raised. I'll turn the meeting back to you, Chair.
Thank you. With that, at 12:34 p.m., I will adjourn the meeting. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Do we need to do that?
No need to have a motion to adjourn, and I appreciate the committee's willingness to tolerate your wet blanket attorney.
Oh, we appreciate you being here. So thank you. Thank you for keeping us on track. Meeting is adjourned. Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Have a great week.